All right, so today we are going to be talking about blood types. So the first thing we have to talk about, there are three alleles that are found when dealing with this topic of blood types. The first allele is big IA. So you have A, B, and the recessive O. Those are the three alleles. And because there's three alleles, one of the main concepts that is talked about in here is something called multiple alleles. Remember, multiple alleles means that there are more than two alleles for a trait in a population. So we have A, B, and O here. Now, with that, it gives us three phenotypes. So these are the phenotypes that actually, if you were to get blood work done, they'd say, oh, you have this type of blood. So you'd have A blood, you have B blood, you have AB blood, and you have O blood, the recessive blood. Now, if we take a look at AB blood, this is another concept that we've talked about here in class. If you take a look here, you've got the alleles A and B. Capital I means they're dominant. And of course, we have AB here. So what concept is this? If you said codominance, you are correct, sir. So taking a look here, we go to the genotypes. Now, there are each one, now take a look here. It's big I, or big I, little I. Just like big T, little t, big T, little t, when talking about single traits. But because now, remember, we have two alleles here, big IA and big IB, so A and B are both dominant. If I had just the I, two capital I's, would I know if it's A blood or B blood? Well, I wouldn't be able to tell because it's just a capital I. So we have to put a superscript of A or a superscript of B to represent either A or B blood. So we can have big I for type A blood, so homozygous dominant, or it could be heterozygous, which is big IA, little I. Now, type B blood is the same thing. You can have big IB, homozygous dominant, or you can be heterozygous, which is big IB, little I. Now, AB blood, the only way you can be AB blood is big IA, big IB. Only possibility. And O blood is little I, little I. So that's the main gist of what we have for blood types. Now we're going to take a look at how does blood actually work. Well, if we take a peek here, maybe. Well, one of the things that's found in blood is, of course, you have a blood cell, a red blood cell. So here we have A blood. Now, remember, if we take a look way back into Chapter 7, when we talk about cells and cell membranes are not flat like the floor, right, where there's nothing on it at all. There's proteins and carbohydrates, all kinds of stuff sticking out. One of the things that sticks out is this A protein. The protein determines the type of blood cell. So A blood would have A proteins, B would have B proteins, AB blood would have A and B proteins, and O blood would have, no proteins whatsoever. So besides a red blood cell, you also have antibodies. Now, an antibody, I have it drawn up here as like a flag. A flag because of its function. We'll talk about this in just a little bit here. So an A blood cell, if someone has type A blood, would have a B antibody. So you have the opposite of the protein that's here. So if I have A, then I have a B antibody. Now, besides that, you've got the white blood cell. Now, white blood cells, these are big, crazy, tough guys. They're killers. The problem is, they're a little dumb. All right? So, if you go way back into like the movies, like the gangster movies, you've got these, the big, hulky, brutes. And what happens here is that the brutes here are big, but they're dumb, and they need someone to tell them what to do. Well, the antibody here is the little gangster boss that tells the henchman what to do. Okay, so let's say, little scenario here. So let's say you're walking along, and next thing you trip, you fall, and you bump your head. And it's a big gusher, and there's blood gushing everywhere. I'm like, oh no! So someone quick calls the hospital, and you get rushed to the emergency room, and the doctor says, nurse, because you have type A blood now, so this person has lost too much blood. We need 2 units of A blood stat. All right, so the nurse runs off back to the cooler to get you some blood. But unfortunately, the nurse, not real good with the whole letter thing, and comes back with B blood. All right, now B blood, remember, has a B protein. And so what happens here is the B antibody its main job is it will go forth and search for something else. It'll search for the B antibody. So what happens is it'll go here and says, oh, look, there's no B here. It's fine. And then it'll go down here and say, oh, wait a minute. There's a B antibody. So just like Christopher Columbus takes his flag and comes around and lands right onto the B antibody. Now, this little flag is a signal to the white blood cell to come over here and kill the B blood cell. So it comes over and it destroys the B blood cell. Now, when this happens, the blood does something it's called coagulates, or it turns jelly-like. Now, if this happens, in your body, this could be a real problem. For example, if you have your body's circulatory system is kind of like the waterworks of the town. You've got the big water tower, and from the big water tower, you've got big, huge pipes branching off it. And as you get farther away from the water tower, the branches get smaller and smaller and smaller until you get the little quarter-inch pipes that come out of your faucet. But now, if you have your body, if you take a look at your body's the same thing. You've got your heart, kind of like the water tower, and from that you've got the aorta, like the big, huge pipe, and from that you get smaller and smaller and smaller until you get the capillaries, which are the small blood vessels that only allow one blood cell in at a time. Well, whoops. There we go. Sorry about that. So what happens now is that we've got this blood that's coagulated because the white blood cell killed the stuff that doesn't belong. Well, when it becomes thicker, it doesn't move real well. And in the big pipes, it's not a big deal. But when you get smaller, you can have some problems. It kind of gets glued, kind of sticky, and it doesn't go through the pipes real well. So what happens is, if that gets stuck, say in your heart, you have a heart attack. In your brain, you have a stroke. Bad things all the way around. So quick review here. You've got, now if we have B blood here, okay, so let's say you have B blood. Now if you have B blood, you have the B protein, because the protein tells you what kind of blood it is. So that means if you have B blood, that means you have the A antibody. Now, if you're given A blood, the A antibody looks and sees that, oh, there's an A protein here. Tells the white blood cell, come destroy. So it lands down here, says, okay, I'm attaching myself here, tells the white blood cell, kill. And it comes over and destroys the blood cell, causing coagulation or the blood to clot. Now, on the other hand, now let's say if you have B and A blood. Now here we have, if you have AB blood, you have a B protein and you have an A protein. Okay, so now that means if I'm given A blood, okay, well, first of all, let's take a look here. If I have A, B protein, the antibodies that I have are opposite of the proteins here. So I don't have any antibodies, any B or A antibodies. So therefore, if I take a look here, I go down here and it says, okay, the A protein, so blood that doesn't belong to me, there's no antibodies to look at this, so the white blood cell looks and doesn't kill it because there's no little guy, no little flag saying, hey, kill this. So someone that has AB blood can accept A blood or B blood or O blood because O has none whatsoever. So let's say we have a different situation here. Let's say I have A blood here. That means I have the A protein. Now that means I have a B antibody. And so what happens, the O blood, there's no O protein. So I either have A proteins or B proteins. I take a look, there's no proteins here. So the B antibody looks and says, oh, there's no proteins. You're good to go. So therefore the O blood, which doesn't belong to you, is accepted and you're good to go. B antibody says, oh, I can't find anything, and we're good to go. White blood cell says, what should I do? And so you live. Now, when you hear blood being talked about in shows like like ER or these other medical shows, a lot of times they don't say, give me A blood, they give me A positive blood or A negative blood. Well, this comes from an Rh protein, okay? So O positive blood means that it has no A or B proteins, it doesn't have any proteins, but it does have the Rh protein. So the Rh protein gives it a positive description. So O positive is no A, B proteins, but it does have the Rh protein, making it positive. If it's O negative, that means there's no Rh. So negative, no Rh. Positive, there is an Rh. So if I have negative blood that does not contain the Rh protein, so it's O negative, that means I will have the Rh antibody. Remember, whatever is on the blood or not on the blood, it's the opposite for the antibody. So if I have no proteins on here, that means I'm going to have the Rh antibody here as well. For O, it would be AB as well. So let's say I have O negative blood. So we're focusing just now on the Rh factor. There's A negative, that means there's no Rh here. That means I have the Rh antibody in the bloodstream. If I'm given O positive blood, which, normally would be okay, but this now says the Rh antibody says, oh, you don't belong here, telling the white blood cell to come over and destroy. So that is the general gist of blood typing. Hope you had a great time. And